Right, so good day, class. So today we're going to discuss about the urban form, the patterns, the elements, and surveys and analysis. So, so this will be our lecture outline. So I think we won't be discussing all of this. So probably we'll just discuss up to the urban elements or urban design elements, and we'll discuss the next half next week. So we'll look into the settlement patterns, the basic design concepts, the urban design elements for this week. So when you look at the settlement patterns class, we have what we call the organic, the formalist, and the modernist. Here, you could look at here the organic. When you look at these lines, it's more in curvilinear in forms. We also have here the formalist, which is more formal in nature. You have also the modernist also. Then if you look at the organic tradition, so organic family, so how settlements thought of to have been arranged. So when you think about organic, it means that it just grow organically on the site, or it follows an organic shape or pattern, like what the images I've shown you before. So it's naturalistic, indigenous, vernacular, incremental, informal, romantic, and picturesque. So from the organic tradition, and a good example here is the Machu Picchu in Peru, which was built as an estate for Inca Emperor Pachacuti in the 15th century. So for the context, so antecedents from the first settlements when people arranged their activities based on natural systems or environment. People then discovered the utility of grouping themselves into more permanent groups or clusters to purposes of defense, economic productivity, or cultural needs. So the outcome was work done by cooperating with each other and using means at hand, settlement forms, shapes, materials, and decorative expressions somehow communicate an honoring to the human spirit, so the spirit of everybody. So when you look at the plan class, you have to look at first the context of what's really happening during that period. So during that period, it's not yet as stable as it is right now, or as peaceful as it is right now. Much as we have wars uh, right now in the modern times, if you live during that time of the Incas in Peru, you have to think about defense because other tribes might attack your community or settlement and take you all as slaves. So there's what you call the concept of grouping by cluster. Okay, so if you share a common culture um, or or background, you tend to group together. So this is what happened with the Incas in Machu Picchu, Peru. So they grouped together, primarily not just for the economics, but much more for defense. If you lived in other sites, which is close to the Roman Empire, you have to group yourselves to you have to group together also with other tribal chieftains. Otherwise, you'll be assimilated or conquered by Rome. So that's how important defense uh, is during that period. So you look at this is an example of an organic tradition. This is the Algonquin village of Pomilok near the present-day Gibbs Creek in North Carolina. So it's circular in pattern. So it just grows in a circular way, in a circular organic mode around here. I think this is a fireplace for the community. So maybe during the early stages of this settlement, there's just one to two houses until more and more houses arrive to form this settlement. Another example here is the Powhatan village in Sicoton. This is pre-Columbian USA here. Pre-Columbian meaning these are the settlements before the arrival of Christopher Columbus. So in organic tradition, this is Another example, you could look at the curvilinear forms of this village. So when you think about it, class, I think much of the architects I have seen, even the architecture students, they tend to move into the organic tradition. So this is Radburn, a planned community in New Jersey, USA by Clarence Stein and Henry Wright, which began in 1929. Then we also have the formalist tradition. So this is the ancient city of Timgad, a colonial settlement developed by the Romans under Emperor Trajan around 100 AD. So if we look at the plan, it's uh, straight and grid-like. It has a grid-like pattern. Okay? So the Romans designed this in this way so as to project stability of the Roman Empire. So that's why the designs of their cities are more formal, because they wanted to convey how strong and powerful the Roman Empire is. So if you look at here at the ancient city of Timgad, you have buildings or monuments deemed important by the power structure of that time. So you look here, the churches, triumphant arches, obelisks, parks, courthouses, palaces, capitals, or corporate headquarters often punctuate or terminate the vistas of major, sometimes almost ceremonial boulevards. You look at here, this is a major boulevard, no, a major road. When you walk here, could imagine the Romans walking triumphantly whenever they win a war or a battle here, the triumphant arch. So this is another example of the formalist tradition. This is the 1909 plan of Chicago by Daniel Burnham, and it's his co-author Edward Bennett. So Daniel Burnham was one of the planners. Well, no, was the planner of the city of Baguio, and also the I think he also devised a plan for the city of Manila, which never materialized because of World War II. So you could just imagine, guys, if that plan came into fruition, and then World War II never happened. I think Manila could have been the Paris of Southeast Asia or Asia. Okay, we look at here. Yeah, the center is a civic building. Could notice here the straight lines. So it's really very formal, and it also projects the power of the state or governing authority. So this is Clarence Perry's idea of a planned neighborhood, mixing housing types, retail and work places, civic buildings, and parks, which he called the neighborhood unit. So it foreshadows current ideas like the traditional neighborhood development, new urbanism, and Smart growth. So we have here the main highway. This is an arterial street going here, going to the business center. And at the center, we have here neighborhood institutions, which is the center. It could probably be the church or institutional buildings at the center. And then shopping districts in the periphery, traffic junctions, and preferably bunch in form. So here at the periphery, at a certain radius. Then 10% of area to recreation and park space. So we have here um, the Radiant City. So you can see that modernism carries under its umbrella terms such as functionalist, rationalist, technological, utilitarian, systematic, and efficient. So the Radiant City was completely asymmetrical in master plan, where which has 24 cruciform skyscrapers standing 200 meters tall, intended to house businesses and hotels. Around it are residential districts for the skyscraper workers, made up of apartment buildings following the concept of unique habitation located in Marseille or Berlin. So this is Tomorrow City. We Also here, the modernist tradition also represented bold efforts to use technology and notions of regimented democracy to recast how and where people should live and work and how they should get around. So it puts a high value on mechanically defined efficiency, replacing the details and adornments of the past with a machine aesthetic. So it's functional, clean, efficient, rationalist, technological approach was the absence of any dialogue with the people who were the intended beneficiaries of all this high-level thinking. So when I look at cities like this in the modernist tradition, I tend to think about the cities of the future, which was presented in a cartoon series like the Jetsons. So it's mostly mechanical. Um, you could see a lot of mechanical elements in the city. So it has an absence in the dialogue of the people, which means that it, it's more on high level thinking using machines instead of looking at functionality based on human needs. So this is the Radiant City or Ville Radius was an urban design project for the center of Paris, which the architect Charles Edward Jeanneret, aka Le Corbusier, first presented in the Parisian Salon d'Automne in 1922. We have here sa development plan, the new city center of Zagreb and part of the unadopted regulation plan of Zagreb of 1949. So modernists quest for a single sweeping solution. They propose a one-fit size all idea. So buildings were either single purpose or self-contained. Connections became diagrammatic. Most of the urban character of walkable, mixed-use spaces was supplanted by giant superblocks. So it's linked with generic hierarchical travelways for cars or transit with a separated and disconnected system for pedestrian path. So again guys, it focuses more on the mechanical elements because the pedestrian path is disconnected. So when for me it's much better when you design a city or planning community that you consider more the pedestrians instead of the machines. So imagine if we design a city wherein we focus more on public transport instead of cars, I think it would be much better because you would have more trees and it would help the environment also. So here is East Berlin. So it's an oval-shaped micro-district of I cannot read this. This is in German, built in 1970s in Tallinn, Estonia. So this is in Estonia. I don't know what language this is. It's hard to read. And this is East Berlin. Okay. So moving back into the settlement patterns, we have the organic. So the organic tradition tends to reflect the features of the natural world like topography, watercourses, and orientation. At the same time, it's an incremental and accretive schema. It builds on historic travel and trade routes, accounting for curving and often dendritic disconnected street systems. Then we have the formalist. So formalism is most closely associated with the grid for its superior flexibility and accessibility on the one hand, and its assertion of physical and social order on the other. Then we have here the modernist. So modernism combines its quest for abstract efficiency with the exigencies of modern real estate development and practices to reorder the built world into superblocks, separated vehicle and pedestrian systems, and separated functional activity zones. Okay, then let's look into basic design concepts. So which are here order, unity, proportion, scale, harmony, symmetry, balance and rhythm, harmony, and contrast. So when you think about these guys, the basic design concepts, I want you to remember your lessons in theory of architecture because it's really applicable in your design also. So we have here order. So if you look at the planning here, I think you could really see it is ordered. So here we have a main street, and if you look at the urban design elements, it also is ordered. Okay, so this is the master plan for uh, um, Biltmer in 1965 by the architect Siegfried Nasut. Okay, so this is a close up of the Biltmer neighborhood, how it was constructed. The next is concept is unity. So when I see the star-shaped patterns, um, usually I think about fortifications. It is a star shape for defense. If you remember, these type of settlements were developed during when the cannon was invented, so that they could better defend fortresses. And I think it's also slope at the walls in order to distribute the force by the cannon when it's fired. So here, Robertson said that an understanding of functional design, the study of the building and its various parts, cannot, however, be satisfactorily translated into an architectural creation unless it is accomplished through a comprehension of the laws of composition through knowledge of the grammar of design. So design class has a grammar, and you could see that you could achieve that harmony and grammar if you have a strong foundation of um, theory of design. And we have here an example of proportion. This is, the example is the Piazza San Marco in Venice, Italy. Here, Moten et al. Said that an examination of the concept of unity leads to a study of the characteristics of unified composition. That is, to the manner in which components may be arranged in a coherent manner. So, if you look at the composition, it is thus proportion, it's also coherent. And another, it is scale. I think this is one of my most favorite theory in design. So this is the Capitol Complex in New Delhi, India. So it's designed by Sir Edward Lutyens and Herbert Baker with elements from the Buddhist, Hindu, and Mughal architectural styles built in the 1900s during the colonial period. So you could really see that there's massing and scale, which for me makes the entire place much more interesting. So urban design is concerned with analyzing metropolitan form and designing for future development using hierarchy of scales. Then another design concept is harmony. So the aim of classical architecture has always been to achieve a demonstrable harmony of parts. Such harmony has been felt to reside in the buildings of antiquity and to be to a great extent built into the principal antique elements, especially to the five orders. So this is the Forbidden City of Beijing, China. Okay. Then we have here the concept of symmetry, balance, and rhythm. So here we have the Union Scale, Union Square proposal at the National Mall, Washington, D.C. So if you break this into two, there's symmetry. And here at Madrid, Spain, you could see that there's some sort of rhythm also being applied. So symmetry is a proper agreement between the members of the work itself and the relation between the different parts and the whole general scheme. So in accordance with a certain part selected as standard. Thus, in the human body, there's a kind of symmetrical harmony between forearm, foot, palm, finger, and other small parts. And we have also what we call formal symmetry. So formal symmetry is a type of balance which is easy to see and understand, but it involves great difficulties in achieving a balance between the internal functions and the highly disciplined exterior. So asymmetry is the informal balance of non-axial architecture. It corresponds to the human figure in profile, which is capable of balanced positions of great complexity compared with the more static frontal symmetry. So if you look at this picture, you could also see the design concept of rhythm, harmony, and contrast. Okay, so you could see that there's rhythm, there's repetition of same windows. There's also contrast of different elements. But you look at it as a whole, it is also harmonious in design. So this is the Piazza del Campo in Siena. So I think this would all be for our lecture this week. Next time, let's talk about the elements in urban design. So if you have any further questions or clarifications, class, you could contact me anytime through our Facebook account or just send a PM or an email. So I'll always be available for you guys. So take care and see you next meeting.